Well, friends, good morning. We'll continue our discussion on deductions. Deduction chapters we are learning in our last class. Is it done? Can you recall what we have learned in your previous class? Which section? Anybody who can tell me?
Sir, we were discussing ATC deductions.
Yeah, 80C we are discussing. Okay, so we know in the previous class also we are talking about chapter 6 deduction. Chapter 6 contains a list of deductions starting from section 80C to 80U. And our syllabus contains some specific sections, so we'll be covering all those sections in detail. And before that also, we are talking about there are certain deductions which are allowed under each head. For example, under the head salary there are certain deductions. Under the head house properties, income from house property, there are certain deductions. Under the head profit and gains of business or profession, there are some specific deductions. Under the head capital gain, there are also some specific deductions. Like this, under every head there are some specific deductions. And from the gross total income, there are also a list of deductions which are allowed. They are called as chapter 6A deductions. And in that context, we are discussing in a previous class, we had in fact discussed ETC. ETC was over, is it not? Now we'll be learning few more sections. In the meantime, I am going to share the screen with you. And yeah, previous class I was discussing about various heads of income. Just a minute. Let me quickly show you those slides, what we had discussed in our previous class. Gross total income concept and various deductions allowed under specific heads we had discussed. And previous class I had shown you some calculators, isn't that? With the help of which you can easily compute the amount of deductions allowed. These calculators are available in the income tax department's website. You can check that thing. And this is the list of deductions which are allowed from gross total income. Right? You see, ATC, ATCC, 80 triple C we are planning to cover today. Okay, 80 triple C, 80CCD, 80D. We'll try to complete these sections today. Other sections are also there. We had discussed all these things in our previous class. Right, and this list also I had shown you. There's overall ceiling limits on certain deductions. Right, so ATC, ATCC, ATCCD, so sub deduction limits are there. And ATCCD 1B, we know there is an additional limit of 50,000. ATC limit is 1,50,000. And ATCCD 1B additional limit of 50,000. We had discussed all these things. Then we have under ATC, the various amounts invested. We discussed one by one, like life insurance premium paid. Okay. Then scheme and insurance policy, etc. Okay. Then premium paid for deferred annuity schemes. Then some deducted from salary for securing deferred annuity. The contribution to statutory provident fund, public provident fund, recognized provident fund. All these amounts are eligible for ATC deduction. Contribution to approved superannuation fund, that also we have discussed. Sukanya Samriddhi account, any contribution to made is also eligible. Made for Sukanya Samriddhi account is also eligible for ATC. A national savings certificate. Then unit linked insurance plan. Unit linked insurance plan of LIC mutual funds. Contribution to approved annuity plan of an LIC. Subscription towards notified units of mutual funds of UTI. Right, contribution to notified pension funds set by mutual funds or unit trust of India. Then contribution made to National Housing Bank. under some term deposit schemes, subscription to notified deposit schemes, the tuition fee of any university, school, college, educational institution for full-time education maximum up to 2 children. Then housing loan repayment, right? So then subscription to certain equity shares and debentures on certain eligible issues, subscription to units of mutual funds, investment for 5 years term deposits of certain banks, subscription to notified bonds issued by NABARD, investment in 5-year post office deposit schemes, deposit in senior citizen savings scheme, contribution to additional amounts of NPS. So we have discussed all these things, and NPS we have discussed in detail. What is tier 1 account? What is tier 2 account? Very briefly, I had told you what is that, right? And in that context also we had discussed this part. The overall limit of deduction under section 80C, 80CCC and 80CCD1. Overall ceiling limit is how much? For these three sections taken together, what is the overall ceiling limit? Can you tell me?
1,50,000.
1,50,000. And for 80CCD1B, what is the limit? 80CCD1B.
The 2 lakhs.
No, not 2 lakh. For 1B,
2
it is
lakhs.
50,000.
50,000.
50,000. Both taken together, it is 2 lakh. Right? But if I'm asking for 80CCD1B, then it is 50,000. Okay. So broadly we have discussed up to this. Yeah. Now today we are planning to discuss, or we'll be discussing with the next section, which is 80CCC. 80CCC is a kind of deduction which is allowed on contribution made to certain pension funds, not NPS. We're talking about certain pension funds. Right. So this is who is the eligible assessee for that? For this, eligible assessees are individuals. Individuals can contribute certain money to certain pension funds and can get deduction under section 80CCC. Okay, this kind of contribution can be made to keep in force the contract for any annuity plan of Life Insurance Corporation of India or any other insurer. It might be LIC or any other insurance company. If money is contributed for an annuity plan, then that money is eligible for deduction under section 80CCC. Okay, but however, you have to understand, if if some interest is received or bonus is accrued or credited to the assessee account, that will not be treated as a contribution. When premium is paid, that will be treated as a contribution. Okay, and maximum amount of deduction allowed under this section is 1,50,000 rupees. Okay, and this is included in 80C also. No, not included in 80C. That ceiling limit for, as you know, from the very beginning, 80C, 80CCC, 80CCD1, all taken together should be 1,50,000. So if you are taking deduction under section 80CCC, you cannot take the same deduction under, you cannot avail the same limit under 80C. Okay, did you understand? 80CCC is for contribution made to certain pension fund. Here, one more condition we have to remember. If the assessee surrenders this scheme, he'll be receiving some money. Okay, if he surrendered the annuity plan in the previous year, or when he receives pension, that amount, what he is receiving from this scheme, shall be deemed to the income of the assessee. That is his income, and that will be chargeable to tax. Okay, so whether the income is received by the assessee or received by his nominee, this will be treated as income. Is it clear to you? Yes or no? Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Triple C is over. Now let us come to next section, which is CCD. And this 80 CCD deals with contribution to pension schemes notified by central government. Okay, so you might be knowing that the persons who are retiring, who are entering into the central government service on or after 1st January 2004. So mandatorily they will contribute a kind of pension scheme. Okay, they will make certain contribution. Government will also make equal contribution. Okay, matching contribution will be made by the government. So all those people who are joined in central government on or after 1st January 2004, right? Certain portion of the salary has to be contributed to a pension scheme. Certain portions means 10% of the salary. 10% of the salary shall be contributed to the pension scheme, and government will make an equal contribution. And section CCD provides deduction in respect of contribution made to the pension scheme notified by the central government. So any contribution made under this scheme is eligible for deduction. Okay. Right? This is about 80 CCD. 80 CCD 1 talks about central government has notified one more scheme, one scheme, that is Atal Pension Yojana, for which contributions can be made, and it can be and that can be claimed as deduction under section 80 CCD. So any contribution made under Atal Pension Yojana is eligible for deduction under 80 CCD. How much deduction will be made? How much one can claim deduction? CCD 80 CCD 1 provides deduction maximum up to 10% of the salary. Okay. And this scheme is also allowed for self-employed individuals. Self-employed, suppose central government employee, they can contribute 10% of the salary, and government can also contribute 10% of the salary. A self-employed individual can also contribute up to 20% of his gross total income to this scheme. Okay, if you look at this chart, an individual who is employed under central government on or after 1/4/2004 can contribute 10% of the salary. The scheme is also open for other employers. And individuals employed by any other employer can also contribute 10% of the salary, up to 10% of the salary. Any other individual can contribute up to 20% of the salary. So scheme is open for central government employees, other employees, and also non-employees or self-employed. So this much money can be contributed and can be claimed deduction under section 80 CCD. Are you understanding?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, that is 80 CCD 1 I told you. Now coming to 80 CCD 1B, which I had briefly discussed. 80 CCD 1B is different. Here, therefore, additional limit is there. 80 CCD 1, that is covered under the limit of 1,50,000. But 80 CCD 1B is not coming with that overall limit of 1,50,000. It's an additional limit. And additional limit of 50,000 is allowed for National Pension Scheme, additional contribution to National Pension Scheme. It doesn't matter whether assessee has already availed some deduction under section 80 CCD 1 or not, but this additional deduction should be allowed. This is over and above the limit of 1,50,000 rupees. Okay, under 80 CCD, as you know, the scheme is called as National Pension Scheme. I'll be just a minute. I wanted to. I think we had discussed this thing in our earlier classes. Okay, the same thing. that this 50,000 limit is over and above that 1,50,000 rupees, right? Now, one more point we have to remember. Under section 80 CCD2, contribution made by the central government or any other employer in the previous year to that specific account means under that scheme is also allowed as a deduction in computation of the total income of the assessee. That means employees' contribution is allowed as a deduction. Employer's contribution. Employer means who? Maybe central government or any other employer shall also be allowed as a deduction. Okay. That means employer's contribution will be included in the total income of the assessee, and again it will be allowed as a deduction. Okay. Did you understand this point? Last para. Last para is about employer's contribution.
Yes, sir. We understood.
So the entire employer's contribution should be included in the salary of the employee. But however, deduction under section 80 CCD2 will be restricted to 14% of the salary in case contribution made by the central government. That means central government can make central government can make any contribution, but deductions for central government's contribution is restricted to 14% of the salary in case of contribution made by the central government, and 10% of the salary in case of contribution made by any other employer. Other employers' contribution is limited to 10%. Deduction for other employers' contribution is limited to 10%. Okay. Right. This is what we're talking about, employers' contribution. And we have to remember one more thing, that if the scheme is closed, okay, if the account is closed or the person is opting out of the scheme or he started receiving the pension, then the amount so received will be treated as income and that will be taxable. But if compensation is received by the nominee on death of the assessee, then that amount shall not be deemed to be the income of the nominee. Right? In other situations, except death of the assessee, if compensation is received or the person is opting out of the scheme, if premium is received or closure of the account, all such money received will be treated as income of the assessee and will be taxable. Okay? Is it okay? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Now, please look at this chart. As I told you from the very beginning, that 80C, 80CCC, 80CCD1 overall limit is all taken together. Overall limit is 150,000. 80CCD1B additional limit of 50,000. But in case of employer's contribution to 80CCD, then if contribution is made by central government, then 14% is the limit. For other employer, 10% is the limit. So let us summarize all these things in this chart. As you can see, this chart shows this. Here you see 80C, these are the investments which are made, 1,50,000. 80CCD limit is also 1,50,000. 80CCD1 contribution made to NPS, 10% of the salary, or this is the employees contribution, 10% of salary or 20% of the gross total income, as the case may be. 80CCE provides that aggregate deduction of 80C, 80CCC and 80CCD1 is 1,50,000. 80CCDB contribution made to NPS rupees 50,000. Now coming to 80CCD2, contribution by the central government to NPS account of employees. Here it is 14% is the limit. For other employer, limit is 10%. But you see, this 80 CCD2 is outside the limit of 1,50,000 rupees. And contribution made by that means employer contributions are outside the limit of 1,50,000 rupees. Did you understand? This is a summary of the sections you have learned so far. Please go through it and let me know if you have any doubt on anything. Do you have any doubt? Or if you are finding it quite confusing?
No, sir.
Okay.
No, it's straightforward.
It's straightforward. No? This is a summary, in fact. Otherwise, it may appear to be quite confusing because students many times get confused. What is CCC? What is CCD? What is CCD1? What is CCD 1B? What is CCD2? So only the section headings or section numbers might be confusing. The right things are very simple. But still, let me summarize here. It is quickly. First of all, friends, you know there is a list of contribution, a list of investments which are covered under section 80C. You can make investment in those schemes like life insurance, this thing, national saving certificate, public provident fund, statutory provident fund. All these deposits can be made, but overall limit is 50,000. This is as per section 80C. 80CCC talks about certain pension funds only, not other schemes. Okay, only for certain pension funds. There also one can contribute, but overall limit is 1,50,000 again. 80CCD talks about only NPS. Okay, NPS of government. Here, how much one can contribute? Maximum 10% of the salary. Here we are talking about employees' contribution. Maximum 10% of the salary can be contributed. But if the person is not an employee, employees contribution means he can contribute 10%, and employer will contribute again equal contribution, matching contribution. That means his total contribution will be 20%. And if the person is not an employee, self-employed person, then how much he can contribute to NPS scheme? Who can tell me? How much he can contribute?
Sir,
Yeah.
NPS maximum is 50,000
No, I'm not
per
asking
annum,
about
right?
that thing. Here, I'm asking how much a person who is not an employee can contribute. As I told you, if he is a central government employee, how much he can contribute?
Uh,
I'm
10% of the salary.
writing it. This is employees contribution or assessees contribution, or I can say assessees contribution or employees assessees or employees contribution is how much? 10% of the salary, and he is not an employee, is just an assessee, then 20% of the gross total income as the case may be. That you have to remember. 10% or 20%. 10% of the salary if he is an employee, 20% if he is not an employee. Okay, that you have to remember. This is talking about employees contribution. Okay, did you understand?
So the salary means just the basic and DA,
Yeah, I was going
like
to tell you
for
salary includes DA, but his salary doesn't include other allowances. Okay, I was supposed to tell you that thing. That too, you see. Now read this note. Can you read this note? Oh, sorry. Can you read out this?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So salary includes DA, but it doesn't, but it excludes other allowances or perpetuates. Okay. So here, when we're talking about 80CCD1, we are talking about assessee's contribution or employee's contribution. But here, if you see 80 CCD2, when we are talking about, here we are talking about employer's contribution. Employer's contribution, there is a limit of 14% if central government, and for other employees 10%. Okay, and for this 14%, 10% reduction, there is the overall limit of 1,50,000 is not applicable. Even if 1,50,000 limit is exhausted, still these deductions can be claimed. Okay. Are you getting? This deduction is for central government, it is 14%. For other employer, it is 10%. Here we are talking about employee. Under CCD1, CCD2 talks about employer. Is it clear to you? Now coming to section 80 CCE. Section 80 CCE is not a specific section. It talks about that overall limit. It only says that overall limit of 80C, 80 CCC and 80 CCD1, all these three taken together is 1,50,000. That's what it says. Okay, so 80C, 80 CCC, 80 CCD1 and 80 CCE, these sections are over. 80 CCD1B is an additional section. This section talks about contribution to national pension scheme. As you know, this is outside the limit of 1,50,000. Okay, so the maximum limit here is 50,000. 80 CCD2 talks about contribution made by central government or other employees, but limit is 14% if contribution is made by central government, 10% if contribution is made by other employees. Did you understand? There can be many multiple choice questions from this slide alone.
So the employees under 80 CCD subsection 1, like, is it the subsection 1 or is it clause 1? Like you say 1, that is, sir, is it subsection 1 or is it supposed to be clause 1?
Here, this is subsection 1.
So the employees are supposed to be only central government employees?
Which, yeah, what you are asking?
80 CCD1,
Yeah.
those employees contribution, so they are supposed to be only central government employees?
No. Okay, CCD1 can be for central government. They can be central government employees, state government employees, private employees, any company's employee, any kind of employee. Okay, and even if they are non-employees,
So it is
non-employees means we are treating them as self-employed. They can still contribute 20% of their gross total income.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Did you understand? Yeah. Okay. Is it clear to you? And as I told you, the meaning of salary is that salary includes DA, but it doesn't include other allowances and perquisites. Right? So if this is over, if this is clear to you, then I'll be entering into the next section, that is 80D. But first, make sure that you have understood these sections, these 6 sections thoroughly. Do you have any doubt? You may feel free to ask me right now. Should we proceed now? Should I proceed?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Sir, can you just explain that 80 CCD2 part again? 80
CCD2.
CCD2.
Okay, first you see.
Yes.
Up to this, up to CCD1B, we are talking about contribution made by the assessee. 80CCD talks about contribution not made by the assessee, but on behalf of the assessee. Who is contributing? Central government is contributing or other employers are contributing. So 80CCD2 talks about contribution made by employers. Okay. If this kind of contributions are made, they are also eligible for deduction. But two things you have to remember. Central government can contribute max up to how much?
1,50,000?
No, why 1,50,000 is coming to your mind? 1,50,000 is the contribution made by the employee or assessee. But here I am not talking about that. Here again, you see who is making contribution? On behalf of employee, central government is making contribution. If that is so, the maximum deduction is how much?
So that will be limited to 14% of salary.
14% of the salary. 1 point. Second point is that the limit of 1,50,000 is not applicable here. Okay. Even if 1,50,000 limit is not applicable here, please read it carefully. Outside the limit of 1,50,000. Okay. So that is important. And up to 14% of the salary. Are you getting me?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay, you got it, no?
Thank you,
Right.
sir.
Now, if it is not central government, some other employer, then how much can be contribution? Contribution can be any amount, but how much can be the deduction for this contribution?
So that is 10% of salary.
10% of the salary. But again, you have to remember, it is outside 1,50,000 limit. Okay. So one limit of 1,50,000 is not applicable. You can outside the limit of 1,50,000. So this is again over and above 1,50,000. Okay. So you see,
Yes,
this
right.
is outside these three, all the three things. 80CCD 1B is outside. This is also outside. As I told you, NPS outside 1,50,000, and these two things are also outside. Right? Again, have a look at these days. 80C, you know, 80CCC, you know, 80CCD1 also, you know. All these three cannot exceed 1,50,000, which is provided in 80CCE. That's the section. But 80CCD, 80CCD1B and 80CCD2 can exceed 1,50,000. But there are limitations. For 80CCD1B, overall limit is 50,000. And 80CCD2, if contribution made by central government, limit is 14% of the salary. If contribution made by others, limit is 10% of the salary.
Excuse me, sir.
I think now it is quite clear.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah, please ask me.
80CCD 1
Yeah.
that up to 50,000 I think claimed. I think so, sir. That is not exceed 50,000 of that 80CCD 1.
80CCD1 talks about contribution made to NPS by government or NPS of the government. Contribution can be made by the assessee or contribution can be made by the employee or who may be assessee. The contribution limit is 10% of the salary or 50% of the gross total income, as the case may be. If employee is contributing, employee can contribute 10% of the salary, or employee can contribute more, but deduction is 10% of the salary. Central government or other employer will contribute the matching contribution. Suppose employee is contributing 10%, employer will also contributing 10%. Total contribution will be maximum 20%. And if it is employees are not working anywhere, he is self-employed, he can contribute 20% of GTI. And as you said, there is no limit of 50,000 here, but there is an overall limit for all these three taken together, that is 1,50,000. And that overall limit part is mentioned in the next section. 80CCE talks about the overall limit is 1,50,000. Okay, there is no amount specific limit under section 80CC D1. So your query was whether this limit is 50,000 or not. Is it not? I think
Yes,
your
sir.
query is answered. There is no such limit of 50,000 under 80 CCD 1. Is it clear to you? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Or you
Yes,
still have
sir.
some doubt?
It's clear. Yes, sir.
Okay, should we proceed now? I think fair enough. These things are quite clear. So it is obvious that these sections or this list of 6 sections contains a lot of confusion. I hope all these confusions are clear now. Should I proceed now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, friends, now I'm entering into the next section. That is 80D. 80D, you know, or previously also I had told you very briefly, this is deduction in respect of medical insurance premium. Who can claim? Individual can claim this deduction, and in some situations, HUFs can also claim. I'll be saying it in the latter part. But right now, let us see that individuals claim deduction up to 25,000. Up to 25,000 is allowed in respect of premium paid to keep in force the insurance of health for health insurance of self, spouse, and dependent children. If 25,000 is paid as premium, that can be claimed. It can also be claimed for any contribution made by made to the central government's health scheme or such other health scheme as may be notified by the central government. Okay, so if these kind of contributions are made for health of the self, spouse, and children, then an amount of 25,000 is allowed. Okay, and in addition to that, a further deduction of 25,000 is allowed if then parents are involved to keep enforce the health insurance policy of the parents. Another 25,000 is allowed. So 25,000 plus parents 25,000, 50,000 is totally allowed. Okay. Then third provision we have to see, if parents are senior citizen, okay, then instead of this 25,000 additional 25,000 for parents, this 25,000 will be increased to 50,000. So increased deduction of 50,000 shall be allowed in case of person mentioned above is senior citizen. Okay, that means for the self, spouse, and dependent children 25,000. Okay, for parents 25,000 additional. If parents are senior citizen, then instead of 25,000 it will be 50,000.
सर एक चीज पूछना था सर
हाँ पूछिए.
सर जैसे ये इंडिविजुअल में डिडक्शन टू डिडक्शन अप टू 25,000 तो इसका मतलब क्या हुआ कि 25,000 कट जाएगा या 25,000 मिलेगा
डिडक्शन मतलब क्या है? डिडक्शन मतलब आपका टोटल इनकम जानने के लिए आपका ग्रॉस टोटल इनकम से डिडक्ट होगा.
हाँ सर ग्रॉस टोटल इनकम से डिडक्ट होगा
डिडक्ट होगा मतलब क्या? कट जाएगा.
ओके मतलब आपको ग्रॉस टोटल इनकम से कट जाएगा.
Yeah, suppose you are taking an insurance, health insurance, and you are paying a premium of 18,000. 18,000 is allowed under section 80D. So from your total income, 18,000 will be reduced. Okay, but suppose you are taking a insurance policy, health insurance policy, and you are paying 26,000. 26,000 will not be allowed because deduction is allowed only to the extent of 25,000. So only 25,000 will be deducted. Okay.
ओके सर जो आप इन ये इंश्योरेंस ले रहे हो जैसे इसमें इंश्योरेंस प्रीमियम ले रहे हो.
But suppose in your insurance policy, in the health insurance policy, you have included your parents' health also. Then yours is 25,000, and for parents' health another 25,000. And let us say you have paid a premium of 52,000. Then how much will be allowed? Total 50,000 will be allowed because yours 25,000, parents 25,000 is allowed. But let us say your parents are senior citizen. any of the parent is senior citizen, then what will happen? The entire 50,000 rupees will be allowed. Because for the parents, the limit is not 25,000, it is 50,000. Because your parents are senior citizens.
Yes sir. तो
Did
जो
you
भी सर
understand this?
employees है 25,000 तो ग्रॉस टोटल इनकम से 25,000 डिडक्ट हो जाएगा.
Yes.
अगर आप उसमें पेरेंट्स का भी लोगे तो वो भी 25,000 होगा, लेकिन टोटल आपको 50,000 देना पड़ेगा अगर
Okay. Okay.
लोगे.
Right?
यही है ना सर, अगर आप इंडिविजुअल पेरेंट्स एक साथ लोगे टोटल 50,000 डिडक्ट हो जाएगा.
हाँ.
लेकिन जो सीनियर सिटीजन है उनका ओनली 50,000 होगा.
हाँ, उनके लिए 50,000 है.
अगर खाली पेरेंट्स हो रहा है तो 25,000 डिडक्ट होगा, और इंडिविजुअल पेरेंट्स ले रहा है तो टोटल 50,000 डिडक्ट हो जाएगा ग्रॉस टोटल इनकम से.
Okay.
ठीक है सर. तो बेसिकली जो भी इंश्योरेंस है 25,000 तो ग्रॉस टोटल इनकम से 25,000 डिडक्ट होगा. यही है ना सर?
Yes, सही है.
ठीक है सर, ये समझ जाता है. ओके सर.
ठीक है. Is it clear to all of you now?
Yes.
80D is clear to you? All of
Sir,
you?
parents are senior citizens. Sir, if parents are senior citizens, then it is 50,000 for them along with 75,000.
I couldn't hear you properly. Could you please try to repeat it and once again?
Sir, for senior citizens, if parents are senior citizens,
Okay.
then it's 50,000. And for us, it is 25,000. So that means total we will be able to get the reduction of 75,000.
Yes, right. Right. But I can understand your question is that if the parents are senior citizen, how much can be the total deduction? The maximum total deduction in that case can be 75,000. For parents, 50,000, and for individual or self or spouse, individual self, spouse or dependent children, another 25,000. Total is 75,000. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Now one more thing. What is that? For preventive health checkup. So in addition to that 25,000, 5,000 rupees also will allow for preventive checkup of self, spouse and dependent children during the previous year. If assessee has spent rupees 5,000 rupees for preventive health checkup, that is also allowed under 80D. Okay.
So what about checkup, sir?
Preventive health checkup.
That means, sir, preventive means.
Preventive health checkup means you are going to a doctor to check it out as a preventive measure, that whether health is okay or something is wrong, you can claim it.
Okay, sir.
Up to 5,000. Okay. Now, here one thing is important, that how this money can be made, or how the money can be paid. That is, what is the mode of payment? You have to remember, you can make payment in any mode, including in cash for preventive health checkup. For this 5,000 rupees, you can pay in cash. For all other things, that means health insurance premium or contribution to central government scheme, the money has to be contributed other than cash. Okay, that means it has to go through banking channel, either through check, online payment, DD, or like that. Okay, so mode of payment should be other than cash in any other cases. Only cash payment is allowed for preventive health checkup. Okay, and who are senior citizen?
Age above 60.
Above 60 years of age. Okay, during any time of the previous year, even if they are attending 60 years on the last day of the previous year, they are still senior citizen. Okay. Now, friends, one more thing you have to remember. Now we are talking about this thing, health insurance premium. But now we are talking about medical health expenditure of senior citizen. Okay. Here, a person who is at the age of 60 years or more and who is resident of India, who is unable to get health insurance coverage, then he can also take a deduction up to 50,000 in respect of medical expenditure. It's not for premium, it is for expenditure. For medical expenditure, how much can be claimed? 50,000 rupees per annum one can claim.
And in
Okay.
case major, sir, in case of major that medical expenditure, or that only any type of expenditure also can be that claimed by the medical.
Any kind of medical expenditure.
Okay, sir.
Okay, 50,000 can be claimed. Right? So as I was telling you, HUF can also claim this benefit. Maximum amount 25,000 for any member and 50,000 for any member if he is a senior citizen. Okay. To summarize, let me tell you, deduction to the extent of 25,000 is allowed for anyone. For senior citizen, 50,000. Again, for preventive health checkup, 5,000 is allowed under section 80D. Okay, is it clear up to this?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, next section I am going to cover is about 80DD. 80DD is for dependent disabled in respect of maintenance, including medical treatment of dependent disabled. So quickly, this section will be covering it very briefly. How much is allowed? 75,000. And in case the disability is severe in nature means the person is person with 80% or more disability, the deduction shall be 1,25,000. Right? If the assessee is spending some money for maintenance, including medical treatment of dependent disabled person, dependent disabled relatives, then up to 75,000. And in case of severe disability, up to 1,25,000 will be allowed as deduction. Is it clear to you?
Yes, sir. Clear.
Now, next is 80DDB. This is for medical treatment. Deduction is available for individual for medical expenditure incurred for self or dependent up to 40,000 and for senior citizen up to 1 lakh. If some money has been,
This one also, sir, this one also that medical expenditure for that 50,000.
yes. Okay, and this is for himself or dependent up to 40,000 and for senior citizen up to 1 lakh can be allowed under section 80DDB. Okay. Now coming to next section, 80E. 80E talks about deduction in respect of interest on loan taken for higher education. So how it is allowed? Reduction is allowed in computing the total income in respect of initial assessment year. That is the assessment year relevant to the previous year in which assessee starts paying interest on the loan. So from that year, when the assessee starts paying interest, from that year and 7 assessment years immediately succeeding the initial year or until the interest is paid in full by the assessee, whichever is earlier. So if interest is paid, that interest amount is allowed as a deduction under section 80E. But here one thing is one has to remember that it should be an educational loan. Okay, so in the initial year plus 7 assessment years, interest amount can be deducted. Are you getting it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, this is again a little new section. Deduction for interest on loan borrowed for acquisition of the house property by an individual. Here, maximum deduction up to 50,000 is allowed. The deduction up to rupees 50,000 under section 80EE is allowed. This is over and above the deduction up to 2 lakh rupees available under section 24. Under section 24, we have already studied under the head income from house property that interest on borrowed capital is allowed as a deduction. Okay, for a self-occupied house, maximum up to 2 lakh, and for a let out house, there is no maximum limit. Any amount can be claimed. Have you remembered this?
Yes, sir.
Okay, but in addition to that, 50,000 rupees can also be allowed, but there should be certain conditions needs to be made. What are these conditions? First condition is that, you see, loan should be sanctioned during previous year 16-17. And the loan sanction should be less than or equal to 35 lakhs. Assessee should not own any residential house on the date of sanction of the loan. And the value of the house should be less than or equal to 50 lakhs. Okay.
Sir, that means this condition 50, then a maximum 50,000 extra deduction for 80EE, sir, right, sir?
Yes.
Okay, sir.
House should be a small house, that is value less than 50 lakh rupees. Loan sanction should be less than or equal to 35 lakh rupees. And loan should be sanctioned during a particular period. And assessee should not be owing any other residential house. That means the new house should be his only one house. If he's already owned some residential house, then this condition is not applicable. Okay, and this was for previous year 16-17, and the same condition is extended, or the same provision extended in another section, that is section 80EE. Here, the previous year is, what is the previous year? Can you see it?
Sir, 1920?
1920. That means assessment year?
2021, sir.
2021. If for assessment year 2021, that means current assessment year we are talking about. But here conditions are slightly changed. If loan is sanctioned during previous year 1920, that means last year only it has been sanctioned. So this is your assessment year, you have to file return. Okay. In that case, you have to see individual should not be eligible to claim deduction under 8EE. That means previous deduction it must not have been happened. And the value, sorry. Yeah.
This one electric.
Yeah, now the value, stamp duty value of the house should be less than or equal to 45 lakhs. The house value should be 45 lakhs. Less than equal to 45 lakhs. And individual should not be owning any residential house on the date of sanction of the loan. If these conditions are met, then he can claim a deduction. And the quantum of deduction here is 1,50,000 rupees. Over and above the 2 lakh rupees which is allowed under section 24B.
Sir, in case of that 2 lakh above, that amount should be taken that 80EES, right, sir? If that exceed that 2 lakhs.
No. 2 lakh rupees is allowed under section 24B. Okay, after allowing that thing, now you see, first condition is that assessee should be only one residential property, so that is self-occupied house property. So under the head income from house property, he can claim a deduction under section 24B up to 2 lakh rupees. So there can be loss up to 2 lakh rupees. But in addition to that, he can also claim deduction under section 80EEA up to rupees 1,50,000 rupees.
Sir,
That is,
I'm confusion, sir. But that means that your totally interest deducted that I think 2 lakh. Then, sir, what will do, sir? That
no,
could be the 20, section 24 or that 80 EA.
no. Total deduction can be 3,50,000 rupees, not 2 lakh.
But that deducted that bank deducted that only 2 lakhs, sir. Then all interest or total interest that we deducted only 2 lakhs. Then, sir, what will do, sir?
You
How
see,
can we
please
take
read
that
it, the
350?
quantum of deduction. The maximum deduction allowed is 1,50,000. Deduction up to 1,50,000 over, under this section 80 EEA is over and above the deduction available under section 24B in respect of interest payable loan borrowed for acquisition of the residential house property. In respect, okay, that's all. Now you see, suppose you have paid a total interest of 4 lakh rupees. Okay, then how much you can claim? Under section
350,
24B,
sir.
you can claim 2 lakh rupees.
Yes.
And under section 80 EEA, you can claim
1.5 lakhs.
1.5 lakh rupees.
Yes, got it, sir.
But let us say your total interest amount is suppose 1,80,000 rupees. Okay. Then
Sir.
under section 24B, how much you can claim?
1.8, sir.
1.8. Is there any amount left out for section 80 EEA?
No, sir. Zero, sir.
No, then
No.
you cannot claim.
Yes, got it, sir.
Okay. Now I think your query is answered. Okay.
Yes,
Otherwise,
yes,
limit
yes.
is 3,50,000 rupees, but provided you should have paid that much of interest. Okay. When I say it is over and above means interest should have been paid. That much of interest should have been paid. Not that the same interest you can claim under 2 places. Is it clear to you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, should we enter into the next provision? 80 EEB. 80 EEB is for loan taken for purchase of electric vehicles.
सर एक चीज पूछना है सर.
This is good thing.
Yes, sir. That is very good.
Okay. And here you see loan should be sanctioned during the period 1/4/2019 to 31/3/2023. If some electric vehicle is purchased. Right. So then deduction is allowed maximum up to rupees 1,50,000. Okay.
Yes, sir.
And this deduction is allowed from the assessment year 2021. And it will continue till the repayment of loan continues. So one can keep on paying up to keep on paying interest up to rupees 1,50,000 rupees and claim deduction. Okay. And to whom it is allowed? It is allowed to an individual. Suppose a company buys a electric vehicle, then it will not be allowed. If an
Yes, sir.
individual buys, then it will be allowed. Okay, and it should be sanctioned by a bank or a specified NBFC. These conditions are also important for us.
सर एक चीज पूछना था सर.
Yeah, tell me.
सर ये सर डिडक्शन इन रेस्पेक्ट ऑफ कंट्रीब्यूशन टू पेंशन स्कीम नोटिफाइड बाय द सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट से पहले क्या कराया सर आपने?
इससे पहले
यस सर.
पहले I think we are revising the ITC. This portion you are talking about?
नहीं सर, उससे पहले. हाँ सर, यही वाला.
Yeah, then 80CCC. उससे पहले 80CCC करवाए. So after
अच्छा,
80C, we moved to 80CCC, then 80CCD. Okay. So like this, then 80CCE,
Okay.
80D, 80DD, 80DDB, 80E, EEE, EA. Okay.
तो सर
Now
आपने उससे पहले 80cc कराया?
yeah.
80cc?
Yes.
अच्छा, तो 80cc में सर वही है ना सर कि 1,50,000 मिलेगा डिडक्शन?
80cc. You are
हाँ,
referring to
1,50,000।
yeah. 1,50,000 80cc also I
क्योंकि
had told you
80cc और
earlier.
80cc,
Earlier also we had discussed the
हाँ
overall
सर
limit.
सर 80C और 80cc और 80cce उसमें 1,50,000 होगा।
Yes, all taken together 1,50,000.
ओके, तो आपने यही पढ़ाया ना, मतलब ये
Yes.
डिडक्शन इन रेस्पेक्ट ऑफ ये कंट्रीब्यूशन मेड बाय द सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट से पहले 80cc ही पढ़ा है।
हाँ, right.
और कुछ पढ़ा है सर आपने?
नहीं,
यही पढ़ा
जो
है?
भी पढ़ाया होगा आपका पास वीडियो होगा, आप देख लीजिएगा।
ओके सर, बस यही पढ़ा है सेक्शन
हाँ।
80cc, और कुछ नहीं पढ़ाया?
नहीं।
ओके
अच्छा,
सर।
now देखिए, next we have to, as I told you, 80G maybe you will be covering at a later stage because I would like to show you the list. Okay, let us initiate the topic. Maybe next class I will briefly explaining you what is 80G. 80G, you know, it is a kind of deduction. It is a deduction which is given to the person who donate money to some charitable funds or charitable institutions, etc. So some of the charitable organizations are registered under section 80G of the Income Tax Act. And if you give donation to them, you will be eligible to get a deduction. And some cases, deduction amount is 100%, in some cases it is 50%. Okay. And if the donation value is exceeding rupees 10,000, rupees 2,000 rupees, then donation should be made otherwise than cash. Then only you will be eligible for deduction. Okay, and what are this organization who are eligible for 100% deduction? And what are those organizations who are eligible for 50% deduction? I will be showing you that list on some other day, maybe next class I will be showing you. Now coming to next section, that is 80GG. Okay, 80GG is a deduction in respect of rent paid. So this deduction is allowed to an assessee who is not in receipt of house rent allowance. Okay, he is not receiving in house rent allowance. He can claim deduction under section 80GG. How much deduction will be allowed? Actual rent paid minus 10% of total income. So first you have to compute his total income. You have to see how much excess rent he is paying. Okay, let us say he is paying rent of 1,20,000 rupees in a year. Okay, and his income is, let us say, 3 lakh rupees. Total income is 3 lakh rupees. So 3 lakh rupees, 10% is how much? 30,000. 30,000 he is supposed to pay, but actually he is paying how much? Are you getting the example?
1,50,000 something.
My example is that let us say someone is paying rent of 1,20,000 rupees. That means 10,000 rupees per month. Okay, and his salary, his total income is 3 lakh rupees. So first limit is that actual rent paid over 10% of the total income. What is 10% of total income?
30,000, sir.
How much?
30,000, sir.
And what is actual rent paid?
1,20,000.
Yeah. Now you see, actual rent paid over 10% of the total income. How much?
90,000, sir.
90,000. So first limit is 90,000. Second limit is 25% of the total income. What is 25% of the total income?
75,000, sir.
75,000. That is second limit. So first limit is 90,000. Second limit is 75,000. Then amount calculated at rupees 5,000 per month.
30,000 है ना सर?
Sorry,
टोटल इनकम 30 लाख है क्या?
Total income
3
3
lakhs.
lakh. 3 lakh.
3 लाख है, हाँ उसे आपसे आ जाएगा, ठीक है सर, ओके।
Okay. Third limit is amount calculated at the rate of 5,000 per month. So how much is it?
Sir, first case in that 30,000 and second case is that 15,000, sir.
First case,
Sir,
second case.
yes, it's 90, then 75, then 60. minimum-
First limit is
90.
90,000. Second limit is 75,000. What is the third limit?
60,000.
60,000, sir.
60,000.
The lift is 60,000.
Is it clear to all of you? Or you are still confused? Now, some of you are saying some different figure, 10,000, 15,000. We have to see the annual. We have to do the annual calculation. Third limit is 60,000. 5,000 into 12 months. So out of this, if you see what we say, least of the following. Least is how much? What is the minimum?
60,000.
60,000. So what is that 60,000? 60,000 is a deduction. And what was your total income?
3 lakhs, sir.
3 lakh minus 60,000. Okay, what is your total income for the purpose of tax now?
2,40,000.
2 lakh 40,000. Okay, 2 lakh 40,000 is the total income. Okay, consequently, your tax liability will be nil. Otherwise, tax was payable. 3 lakh rupees tax is payable. Is it not?
सर एक चीज पूछना था सर।
Yeah.
सर ये एक्चुअल रेंट वाला जो है उसमें
Yes.
सर 90,000 आ रहा है, और सेकंड तो 25% टोटल इनकम में 75,000 आ रहा है, और थर्ड
Yeah, please repeat your question.
सर
Please repeat your question.
सर पहले जो एक्चुअल रेंट में 90,000 आ रहा है, और ये
Okay.
25% ऑफ टोटल इनकम में आपका आ रहा है ये कितना बोलते हैं, इसमें इसमें 75,000 आ रहा है, 25% ऑफ टोटल इनकम में 75,000 आ रहा है,
Right,
और थर्ड वाले में आ रहा है 60,000 आ रहा है।
right.
तो सर इसके आगे क्या होगा सर?
आगे क्या होगा? तीनों को कंपेयर करेंगे, जो सबसे कम है वही होगा आपका डिडक्शन. As you
तो
can
सबसे
see,
कम तो
least
सर
of the
लास्ट
four.
वाला है सर,
लास्ट वाला
लास्ट वाला
मतलब
सबसे कम है, 60,000 कम है।
हाँ 60,000 हो गया ना, 3 लिमिट हो गया आपका. 3 का जो सबसे कम है वही होगा डिडक्शन.
तो सर 60,000 डिडक्शन होगा ना?
60,000 डिडक्शन होगा इस केस में. सो
ठीक है
मैंने
सर,
बोला था 3 लाख आपका टोटल इनकम माइनस 60,000, 2,40,000.
अच्छा तो 3 लाख माइनस 60,000 तो 2,40,000 डिडक्शन होगा।
2,40,000.
ये 2,40,000 डिडक्शन होगा उसका रेंट पेड का।
Yes.
ओके सर, तो जो भी डिडक्शन आएगा, जो भी कम डिडक्शन आएगा तो हम टोटल इनकम से डिडक्शन माइनस कर देंगे।
माइनस करके विल अराइव एट द टोटल टैक्सेबल इनकम.
ओके ओके, समझ गया, टोटल इनकम से माइनस करेंगे डिडक्शन, ठीक है सर।
Okay, a few more sections we have to learn. 80 I have to in fact check whether these provisions are there, these sections are there in your syllabus or not. Just give me a minute. Let me. There are some limited sections in your syllabus, so let me check. Yeah, it is GGA, it is GGB, etc. is there. So now, friends, quickly we'll cover this thing. It is GGA. So it is GGA covers certain deduction or certain donations for scientific research. If you have studied the chapter profit and gains of business and profession, if you know if someone is having income under the head profit and gains of business and profession, he can donate for scientific research and claim deductions under that head itself. Is it not? But
Yes,
what
sir,
will
yes, sir.
happen? Yeah, you must have learned that.
Sir,
But what will happen?
100%.
Yeah, it depends in different situations. Sometimes weighted deductions are also allowed at a higher rate. Now, if the person is not having income under the head profit and gains of business and profession, still he can donate for scientific research and consequently he can claim a deduction. So this particular provision, that is 80GGA, is applicable for associates who are not having income under the head profit and gains of business and profession and making deduction for scientific research or for also for rural development activities. Okay, there are certain conditions to that. The deduction this provision says the deduction for any sum contributed to an Indian company for these activities are eligible for deduction, or it can be donated to a political party also. Still deductions are allowed. But however, no deduction shall be allowed if the sum is contributed by way of cash. So deduction is allowed only when the amount is paid in banking channel, otherwise than cash. Okay.
सर जो भी सर डिडक्शन है सर वो प्रीवियस ईयर है ना सर, जो कंट्रीब्यूशन करे इंडियन कंपनी पॉलिटिकल पार्टी वो सर प्रीवियस ईयर है.
No. This is for no. This thing 80GGA is for scientific research and rural development only. Now 80GGB is for donation made to a Indian company or political party.
ठीक है सर, लेकिन वो उसमें जो भी डोनेशन है जैसे कंट्रीब्यूशन है इंडियन कंपनी या पॉलिटिकल पार्टी, जो भी ये लोग कंट्रीब्यूशन दे रहे हैं इंडियन कंपनी या पॉलिटिकल पार्टी, सर ये
No,
सारे
donation made by an Indian company to a political party. That means company can make a donation to a political party. Then deduction is allowed, but donation should have been made in cash. Sorry, made otherwise than cash.
ओके, तो इंडियन कंपनी पॉलिटिकल पार्टी को ये दे रहा है इसमें कंट्रीब्यूशन. लेकिन सर ये जो कंट्रीब्यूशन है इंडियन कंपनी टू पॉलिटिकल पार्टी का जो कंट्रीब्यूशन है सर ये प्रीवियस ईयर है क्या है सर, या करंट ईयर का है?
No, naturally during previous year. If
अच्छा,
during previous
previous
year
year.
something has been donated, then that is eligible for deduction.
ओके, तो
So
इंडियन
friends,
कंपनी
two
पॉलिटिकल
things
पार्टी
in fact I told you.
ओके, तो सर इंडियन कंपनी या पॉलिटिकल पार्टी जो भी कंट्रीब्यूशन कर रहा है वो शायद प्रीवियस ईयर है.
No. You see, you are again getting confused. Not Indian company or political party. This is the donation made by an individual Indian company to a political party or to an electoral trust. So donation has to be made an Indian company to a political party or to an electoral trust. Then only deduction is allowed. And so who can claim this deduction? Indian company claim this deduction. Is it clear to you?
ओके सर, ठीक है.
Clear, sir. Clear, sir.
तो ये जो इंडियन कंपनी भी कंट्रीब्यूशन करता है पॉलिटिकल पार्टी भी, और ये जो इलेक्टोरल ट्रस्ट भी.
नहीं only
पार्टी भी नहीं, इंडियन कंपनी कंट्रीब्यूशन करेगा पॉलिटिकल पार्टी को और इलेक्ट्रिकल ट्रस्ट को.
अच्छा, ओके.
The political party is the recipient, electoral trust is the recipient, and Indian company is the donor.
ओके, लेकिन ये शायद प्रीवियस ईयर होगा, यही मैं पूछ रहा हूँ.
प्रीवियस ईयर होगा मतलब?
ये लिखा है डिडक्शंस ऑफ एनी सम कंट्रीब्यूटेड इन द प्रीवियस ईयर.
Yeah, in the previous year, naturally, when you do the assessment, we see what is the contribution made during the previous year.
तो सर इंडियन कंपनी
Okay.
पॉलिटिकल पार्टी को
And this is section 80GGB. This is different from the previous section, which is 80GGA. 80GGA is for anyone. Okay, it is for assessee not having income chargeable under the head profit and gains of business profession And this donation is for scientific research and rural development. So whatever sum contributed for this thing, that is eligible for deduction under 80 GGA. And donation to political party is eligible, but here who are eligible? Only Indian company.
यस सर, लेकिन इसमें शायद प्रीवियस ईयर है।
शायद नहीं, previous year ही है।
हाँ वही प्रीवियस ईयर ही है, वही मैं कह रहा हूँ। ठीक है सर, जो भी कंट्रीब्यूशन है इंडियन कंपनी में पॉलिटिकल पार्टी, वो सब प्रीवियस ईयर कर रहे हैं। ठीक है।
Yes. Now, if
Okay,
some
sir.
other person other than company also make some deduction, then make some donation to a political party, then that will come under 80 GGC. Okay. 80 GGC is for what? Any person making donation to political party or educational trust or electoral trust. And this also has to be made through banking channel, not through cash. Okay, did you understand the difference between 80 GGB and 80 GGBC? 80
Yes, sir.
GGC. 80 GGB
Yes, sir.
is for Indian company making donation to a political party or electoral trust. 80 GGC is for any person making donation to political party or electoral trust. But both the deductions should be made otherwise than cash. Is it clear to you? Yes or no? Well, so we'll do one thing. In the next class, we'll be quickly recapitulating from 80G onwards. 80G is the donation, some cases 100%, and some cases 50%. 80GG, you have understood it thoroughly. That is deduction in respect of rent paid. 80GGA is for scientific research or rural development. 80GGB for companies' donation to political parties. 80GGC is for anybody's donation to political party. Okay, we'll stop here. We'll recapitulate from that 80G onwards in our next class.
सर एक चीज पूछना था सर, जो 80G में कुछ कुछ 100% है, 50% है, ऐसे पूछेगा कि कौन कौन सा 100% है, कौन कौन सा 50% है, ऐसा
Yeah,
आएगा?
I'll be showing you that list. In which case it is just like this, Prime Minister Relief Fund, etc. They are eligible for 100%, and most of the funds are eligible for 50%.
ओके सर, मैं ज्यादा 50% है, कुछ कुछ 100% है।
कुछ 100%.
अच्छा, वो भी 80G में। ठीक है सर।
Yeah.
ओके सर।
Okay then. So thank you very much. We'll
थैंक यू
catch up
सर,
in our
बाय
next
सर।
class. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.